Hi, Gina. Thank you so much for being on my Choose Courage podcast. I'm so excited to dive into a little bit about you and your story. We've talked on your podcast, and now I'm just want to find out more because you're amazing. I know that you are a mom of three boys, and recently you added a little girl.
Yes, yes, our little Even. We're so excited. Thank you so much for having me. I'm so honored to be here with you and get to talk to your listeners.
Yes, well, I know my listeners are going to love you because what I do and what you do are come from the same place, and that's what I want to understand. I know that you're really passionate about empowering women and community and then personal development, and I think that's for yourself and for others. And you're doing this to help women, help yourself, I think, from what you've learned, and your story is amazing. I just want to start off with part of the story of what I know about you and your husband and your family is that during the recession, you almost lost everything, or I'm not, maybe you did lose everything.
Oh, everything. I mean, $750,000 in debt.
Oh,
The business was that we couldn't go bankrupt. We were at that time, I think, about probably 25, 26. My husband's a couple of years older, but so we were just living large like everybody else in the building industry down here in St. George because St. George has been the fastest growing city in the country for like the last 10 years. It's incredible, just like with like Las Vegas and Phoenix and Scottsdale, those kind of places, we got hit really hard in the recession. And at that time, we were young and stupid and buying everything. I remember our house was an interest only loan, which was the thing back then. And that's why we all got in so much trouble, right? All those houses. And we were just doing things poorly, like a young people would do that came into a lot of money too fast. So we lost everything. We had our cars repossessed, our home repossessed. And like I said, $750,000 in debt that we actually could not go bankrupt because the lien was guaranteed by my father-in-law's beautiful property. So we
oh,
had to figure out a way to pay that back, right? And we were just in over our heads. And
oh,
it was pretty much what people talk about rock bottom. I listened to a gentleman. He was an author in one of the books I just got done reading. I can't think of it right now. But anyway, he said he's hit rock bottom twice in his life. Once when he's near death, he was in a horrible, horrible accident and near death, like hanging on for life. And then the other was the recession. And he said, of the two, what do you think was worse? He said, I wanted to kill myself. I wanted to end my life during the recession because in an accident, you have all of these people cheering for you. You have this team of physical therapists and family and everybody cheering you on, and this whole team of community supporting you. And in the recession, we didn't have that. Everybody was every man for himself, right? And it
mhm,
was it was kind of
yeah,
like, well, you got yourself into this.
hmm,
It's your fault. And he said, in that moment, it's unbelievable that because of that, I wanted to end my life. But in a near death experience, I wanted to live. I had all these people cheering for me. And I thought that is so profound. That just speaks to community right there.
I mean, it's bad enough when you're hitting rock bottom, but feeling like you don't have anybody there
Mhm.
that can support you or help you or understand what you're going through is worse, much worse. And I think that this is such an important part of your story
It is.
because I know that many people listening right now, when you hit rock bottom, there's many defining moments in your life that make you. And hitting a rock bottom can be one of those moments. And you have to
Mhm.
decide in that moment who you are, what you're made of, and what you're capable of doing, regardless of what's happened to you. And it sounds like you both had to dig very deep to figure out how to get out of this big hole. I have a story of my own where I lost everything as well. And it was the most beautiful moment, most defining moment, and transformative moment in my entire life. And so I wouldn't be who I am today without that moment. Just like you said, this person had two moments in his life. So tell me about how you dug deep and what did it take? What how did you and your husband look at each other and feel like you weren't just complete failures, but and that you how did you start over? What was the first step?
The first step, which it's interesting because how many years ago was that? 2010, 2011. I know it started in 2008, but we were able to stay in our home until about 2010, 2011. Our first son was born in 2011, and we were living in his grandparents' basement at this time.
Ah,
So we'd lost everything. And I watched my husband, even before we lost our house, we were losing our cars. Repossession companies were coming over and dragging our vehicles and our four-wheeler and our motorcycle and everything onto their trailers, right? My husband was actually driving his stuff to the repo center just because he's like, stop coming to my house. Here it is. And I watched him in this like depression, right? Of course, I understood that that's what he was. He didn't recognize it as that, and I've talked to him about it now, this many years later, and said that's what that was. And he's like, oh, I didn't realize. But he would hide away and hide away from the world, and and I had someone on one of my podcast episodes ask me, "Were you ever sad?" And I thought that's a very interesting question because I wasn't. I really wasn't. I look back on that, and especially that goes into what I like to talk about in my community as good, better, best. And no one's in this line of work in this when you're going through this kind of work in your journey, this growth, this development, this evolving, right? It's
mm,
never saying your life is bad. It needs to be better. I mean, sometimes it can, I guess, but my life has never been bad. And that was rock bottom. And I don't remember being unhappy. I remember, honestly, it's kind of funny. I remember thinking, oh, this is so cleansing. I just had to get rid of everything. This is so cleansing, you know? And I was having my first baby and I had my husband and we were living in his grandparents' basement and they were loving us and helping us with our baby. And I don't ever I feel like it was fine. It was fine. We had each other. And
mhm,
I come from very humble background. So for me, it was like, well, one foot in front of the other. Here we go. We'll figure this out. But the catalyst, the moment, what you're asking, was
mhm.
my husband had the inspiration, I guess. I don't know. He at the time was reading a lot of Dave Ramsey, trying to figure out how are we going to get out of this mess, right?
Mhm.
And in one of the books, I didn't know at the time, but he's since told me about this, is it says, with money mindset, you cannot go to this other person, this partner, and expect them to change if you are blaming them. If you're like, you get your hair done, you're the problem, you're the this. And it's like, you couldn't come to me because it's technically your company that went under. But
Yes, yes.
I was working and I was probably because the city was in a freezing, spending freeze at the time. I was probably only making like 12 or $14 an hour, like nothing as an emergency dispatcher. And that was our money. That's what we were doing. And he
Oh,
came to me and he said, we need to live differently.
ooh,
What do you want? And he said to me, what do you want out of life? This is how we've been living, keeping up with the Joneses, this lifestyle, the big house, the fancy cars, the vacations. This is how we've been living. What do you want? We can decide. We're starting over. We get to decide what we want. And coming from my family of origin, which is a mother who's raised 8 kids, who helped raise her own siblings, 6 kids in their family on a farm, very humble. She's a homemaker, she's a stay-at-home mom. So coming from that family of origin, that's kind of all I knew. I didn't really know how to dream bigger. And I did want a family and I did want a home. And that's what I said. I said, I just want a nice home and my kids. And he said, what if we traveled the world? And I was like,
he's going
that's
for
an
it now.
option? Yeah. I'm
Yeah.
like, that's a thing. We can do that. Cause to me, that was like, whoa, right? That was just blew my
That's
mind. And I'm
way
like,
out
yeah,
there. Yeah, we're just
I'll
trying to
I'll
survive
sign
right
up with
now.
that.
Yes.
Let's do that. I'm like, okay. And so it did take his dream of his ability to be able to dream bigger than I could. And so it was, and that actually was pointed out to me in another episode. This woman said, wow, how lucky for you to have a husband who cared enough to
Mm,
ask you. And I'm like, wow, that is lucky because I wouldn't have minded if he would have taken the reins and said, we're going to do this. This is what we're going to do, and just kind of gone with it because
mm,
I love him and I trust him. And that's his part that he's said in our partnership. I'm going to take this side, you take this side. And we decided that together. But instead, he did come to me and say, what do you think about this? And I was like, let's do it. And since I've figured out that some women wouldn't have liked that. Some women wouldn't have wanted to travel the world full time. That's it's, but I did. I had a very adventurous spirit and I was like, yes, let's do it. And so it took us 6 years to dig out of that hole. And by 2017, January of 2017, we were able to leave the country with one-way ticket to Paris with our 5-year-old and our 2-year-old. And we've been traveling for the better part of 8 years over 68 countries.
Unbelievable story. That
Yeah,
is a story of the abominable spirit and will that came out of adversity, which
right.
that's probably one of the silver linings of all of this. Sometimes you don't know what you want or what's most important or what you're capable of or what your vision is and until you hit rock bottom and have nothing. It's like you had a clean slate, a blank canvas to work from. And you were happy. You say, I have the minimum.
Right.
I have this, basic things that make me happy. And your husband, I do love that he included you in the we, in the
Mhm.
vision of your future together. And he told you what his vision was. And you had the adventurous spirit and courage. I think it takes courage. You have two children, and then you jump into the unknown. I mean, so tell me how that was. I mean, just to
Oh.
jump into the unknown. You know, you have a one-way ticket.
We have some stories. Oh my gosh, which at the time, our very first experience of leaving the country. I mean, other than Mexico, like we're in Utah, and so Mexico's kind of the trip you take, right? We
Right.
had done that,
Easy.
and we'd done some, Western states traveling and those kind of things. We've always been like wanting to do trips. So we'd always done trips together. But our very first experience out of the country, like I said, was a one-way ticket to Paris. And we landed at the wrong airport. Our rental car, because you have Charles de Gaulle and Rose something
Uh,
in Paris,
uh,
and they're about 45 minutes apart. And our rental car was at the one, and we had landed at the other. And so when we landed, Rick looks at the tickets and he's like, wait, where are we? And I'm like, that might have been my bad.
so here we go in the travel
So
story.
here we go. Day one, right off the plane. And at the moment very upsetting because again, there nobody speaking English. And honestly, I swear to you, getting a cab or an Uber in 2017 at the airport in Paris was scarier than Tijuana, Mexico. They were like fighting over us. They were pulling on us. They were like,
Oh,
come get in my cab. It was weird. It was very like, what? This shouldn't be this kind of an international city. I mean, this is what I expect of a third world country, them pulling on you and dragging you. And like Rick was almost ready to get in fights with these people, like, leave us alone. And so finally we figured it out, went, got our car. And after that, it was like, I'm telling you, we have stories that now we laugh about, we think are so funny, but at the time we're very intense,
in the
and you
moment,
just
right?
in the
Yeah.
moment, yeah,
Yeah.
in the moment, and especially with him, his main focus is safety, right? Safety,
And
safety,
children, your
safety.
wife.
Yes,
Yeah.
we've got a 5-year-old, 2-year-old, and my wife, and safety, and I remember there were some moments where he did not feel comfortable, like we wouldn't speak English, like we wouldn't talk. Like he would tell our kids, "Don't talk. I don't want people to know that we're American."
Oh,
There was a vibe of that in some of the certain places, and we were in Europe. I mean,
yeah.
this wasn't even like a weird thing, but at the time I remember there being, and we've been in a couple situations where there have been terrorist activities that were we were blessed to be far enough away from but close enough to that it was shocking. And you know you just have to think just like you would at home. You're just getting through the next thing. You're just facing the next thing. It doesn't matter where you are. You're just doing the next thing. These kind of things could happen to me here in my home. The same kind of things. Like me going to a different city here in Utah. We don't have toll roads. We don't have to worry about paying for things, or we don't have to worry about, and then you go to a different city and you have to worry about those things. It's the exact same thing. You're just in another country. So once you wrap your head around those kind of things, like, oh, it's just the same as being home. Just
Hmm.
get it out of your mind that it's this scary, scary thing and think of it more like an adventure rather than fear. It
Yeah.
becomes a lot easier. And now, 8 years in, I mean, we went to South Africa for 2 weeks in August, this last August, and
Wonderful.
we packed for it the night before. I mean,
You're kidding me.
that's that's kind of how we roll now. It's just so
And three
eh,
boys. You have three at this
yeah, at this time three boys
three
and I'm
boys.
pregnant with my
You were
little
pregnant
girl.
when you went there?
Yes, we had our gender reveal in South Africa actually.
You did. How exciting.
Yes, it was really fun.
Now that is adventurous. That is
Yes,
adventurous.
it
And
was really fun.
I mean, what have you learned? There's so much I want to ask you about this
No.
and how this wisdom, what have you gained from all this experience of traveling? And I'm sure there's so much about being in the moment, working together, trusting the moment, not being too fearful because the fear can kind of take over. And
Yeah,
being courageous enough to go, okay, we're going to find the answer. We'll know what to do together and take the next step. But then learning different cultures and different way of life, and
right.
how's all of this how helped you help other women in your community, which is Revitalizing Womanhood, correct?
Yeah. Revitalized womanhood. Yes. You know what? Travel is a huge part in growth for people. I think even just going on a trip, I think you can figure out a lot about yourself and a lot about your spouse and a lot about your communication. You learn a lot about when you put yourself in those situations because you are getting out of your comfort zone and that is where growth happens, right?
Yes.
Anytime you're out of your comfort zone, that is where growth happens. So travel is just like a really easy thing to say, this is out of my comfort zone, right?
Mm-hmm.
And so I do think that a lot of my growth can be attributed to that and facing situations like I just explained and knowing. So resilience is the word of the year for my community this year. And
Mm-hmm.
resilience I don't think is just when things happen to you being able to come out of it. It's seeing in the moment what you're being taught also. It's having kind of a sense of, yeah, this is a crappy moment right now and
Mm-hmm.
being able to kind of click your mind over to, but what can I learn from this? What is this teaching me? That is because think about the times when you've been just down and out. And I've had postpartum and I even had because I knew I had postpartum, I had prenatal postpartum. I don't know how you call it.
Right, because
Maternal
you're anticipating it.
depression. Oh, it's
Right.
called maternal depression with
Wow.
this pregnancy. And in that moment, it's hard in those moments when your mind takes over, it's hard to do those kinds of things. And so the ability to say, what am I learning from this? It's not an easy thing. And it's having to put yourself in experiences over and over and over again to get the practice of doing it, right? That's
Yes.
anything is. So I like to think too, when we lost everything, I did have to come to this kind of realization that I had to figure out how to not care what other people thought, right? We were living like keeping up with the Joneses. I cared about my car, the car I drove. I cared about the house I had. I cared about the image I was putting out in the world. I cared about those things. And and in those moments of we've lost everything and shame and guilt and whatever you feel, lack of pride, um you kind of have to think to yourself, do I want to live like this anymore? Right? Who
Mm-hmm.
cares? Where are the people that I've been trying to impress? They're not here with us. They're not digging out of this hole with us.
No.
And you have to, so at that moment, that was a lot of my journey I was on, self-discovery I was on. And it's interesting because I can say that I'm not going to say I mastered it, but I was to the point where I was like, you know what? I feel good. I feel good about me. I'm not worried about what you think about me kind of thing. Well, then here we go into this new season of travel. And I'm like seeing all these different travel families and I'm going, okay, I have to have a cute European outfit to stand in front of
And
the
blend
Eiffel
in.
Tower.
Yes. Yes.
Right. Yeah. I
Yes.
have to look a certain way in these pictures. My kids have to look a certain way for the Instagram, for the show of this.
Wow.
And I caught myself and thought, "Oh my gosh, I'm back in it. I am back in it. Something that I thought I was above and beyond, I am back in it. It's just a different way. It's a different season, and now I have to figure that out as well." And it happened again 2023, we left in after we'd been in Alaska for all of July, and then in August we left and went back to Europe. And for 6 months, and I had to have the same kind of thing. Like my business was on this trajectory of I had a business coach. I was doing all the things. This is what you do when you're a small business, and I was getting on these podcasts, and I was going to these events and meeting all these people. I was doing the things, right? And my
Mhm.
husband said, "Hey, I'm kind of done being a stay-at-home dad. Let's go travel." And I'm
And
like,
you're like, wait a minute.
"Oh,
Yeah, I
yeah."
got to
He's like,
unsettle
"My
here. Yeah.
He's like, your time's up." Technically, we were supposed to leave in January, but I was like, no, 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 no. I'm doing so good. Let me keep going. So he gave me until August, basically, July. And I was like, you know what? You're right. You're right. It's fine. And at that moment, I kind of embraced the word ease and was like, I have got to just let go. And anything that I have to force, I'm
Mm-hmm.
not about. Anything that I have to pull towards me or force, like that just feels so aggressive right now in my life. That ease was just like, let it go. What is going to be my natural normal, and it's going to be fine. I could let go of the supposed to's, right?
Yeah.
I call them the supposed to's. What women feel like, I'm supposed to do this. I'm supposed to be this kind of wife. I'm supposed to be this kind of mother. It's this performative instinct we have in us, like this chameleon that we all think that we need to be these specific people. And this was me being podcast Gina and small business owner Gina and women's community grower Gina. These were the supposed to's that I was clinging on to. And I finally was like, you know what? Just Jesus take the wheel, right? And I was like, if we're out and we don't have Wi-Fi and I can't record a podcast, whatever. If
Mhm.
I'm like I had told you in our other episode, in one of the cities in Portugal, I was in a little cubby, like this little crawl space in the studio we were in recording a podcast. I made a little studio in there. Fine. Great. My backdrop does not matter. It's what I'm saying. But you get so caught up in these, it's supposed to look a certain way. It's supposed to be a certain way. And so, ladies, it's not a science that anybody figures out because we evolve, we change, our seasons change. You have to, it's being able to figure out in those seasons, in those changes, to reconnect with your mindset, reconnect with your resilience, find those tools in your tool belt, right? That
Yes.
you learned, your foundation to bring you back to those places.
I love what you're teaching from your own experience, and I think it is so empowering and important for particularly women. I mean, all people out there. Your story, you are you're coming from example of so many things that most people be completely frightened of and fearful of losing
Yep.
everything, um,
Oh, yeah.
trusting and just going for it, and just letting go and those are the things that will create a happy, fulfilling, successful life. And you know, a lot of people, it seems like it's counterintuitive to be at ease, in the flow, let go. And you can still have your intention and your goals and move forward, but you have to let go and let the energy flow. And life is all energy. You know, think your words, your thoughts.
Right.
There's an energy flow here. And you know, it's just like what we were saying. Sometimes when you want something to happen so badly, you actually create the opposite because it's
Yes.
kind of restricted. So I love that you've been able to do this. And that's very courageous. It's very courageous to trust, learn from mistakes or bumps in the road, and that's resilience. You get back up, you start again, and say, what did
Right.
I learn? And sometimes you don't learn it right off the bat. You know,
Yeah.
months down the road, you go, oh, that's what I was supposed to learn.
Wait a minute. I remember this. Okay, okay, okay.
Right? Yes, I'm sure. It's like, oh, that one moment. Oh, now I know that's what the lesson was, or it took me in a different direction.
Right. And it
And
doesn't happen overnight. We've become so obsessed with like Amazon next day. It's like my growth journey has to be next day. Oh,
I
I get so
know,
mad if it doesn't come in 2 days. We've been
yes,
so conditioned now to have everything so quickly at our fingertips that we feel like, okay, perfect example. I'm 3 weeks postpartum. I have a 3 week old of a C-section, 3 weeks postpartum of a C-section.
Amazing.
And this is the blessing and the curse of postpartum depression right here. Because when I had my last baby, I was suffering from postpartum. I did not want to heal. I didn't know how to heal. I was just like on my bed with this baby. I'm an island. We're an island. Leave us alone, whatever.
Mhm.
And 6 weeks came so fast. And I'm like, I can't exercise. No, right? But this time I'm not suffering with it. I'm totally here and present and 3 weeks in and I'm looking at it going, oh, I got to get to the gym. Oh, I need to like I don't feel like myself. I need to get back into trying to be who I was before. And that's such a I don't like that, right? I don't like that because birth is I mean, women were metamorphosizing 100 times in our lives, right? Like you have
Yes.
this beautiful
Yes.
butterfly behind you. I
Yes.
tell my ladies, if we were butterflies, we would have been 58 butterflies by now in our lifetime, right? We've
I love that
metamorphosized so
analogy.
many
Yeah.
times. Yeah. And birth is the number one. So imagine yourself instead of saying I want to get back to who I was, it's like, guess what? You're never going to be who you were because
Mhm.
because of that moment, that metamorphosis, you are now this different person. You are. So you now have to learn how to be this version of yourself
Yes.
and
Yes.
be good with that.
And we're always changing and growing, hopefully, right?
Oh
We
yeah.
want to keep growing and changing, and then life changes us as well. Like,
Yeah.
you became a mother, and being motherhood is completely different than being single and not having that kind of responsibility. And
Yeah.
some people don't like the change. Change is hard for people, but yet change can be such a gift in our
Yeah.
life. Embrace the change and the unknown because that's where the gifts are going to be in our lives.
Yeah.
And and I think what you're doing with women is so important because we're so hard on ourselves. I work with a lot of
Yeah.
women and we want to be perfect, like you said. We want to stay in our little comfort zone. But no, life, that's one thing we can count on every day. Life will change. Things will change and some things are out of our control. So focus on what we can control every day. And
Yeah.
but before, so I just love that you're helping women revitalize themselves, which is new. I looked it up, and it means new life, and it means
Yep.
vitality, and I love that
Yeah.
definition. So every moment, every change, it can be a new life, but it can be a life of vitality, and that means really living. So
Right.
before I get into my questions about what type of people can join your community and what they'll get out of your community, which is
Yeah.
so important, I want to find out. This is my last question for you. I really want to find out your why in helping women with community, with their business, with personal development, and being their best selves. What's your why? Why is this important
My,
to do it?
oh
Yeah.
my goodness. You know what? My husband asked me as well because he is a very entrepreneurial mind. He's started over 13 companies, and he's very quick if it's not a success. It's like, okay, no, we got to cancel that one, shut that one down. It's not successful, move on to the next one. And
Love it.
so with me starting this business, it's such a different world for him. We're unfamiliar with. I didn't even know what a podcast was. Okay. I and so there is so much passion and why behind all of this for me that I will do it forever for free. And he looks at me like I'm crazy. And I'm like, it fills me up. It gives me so much fulfillment to see what happened was when I was struggling with postpartum was kind of this moment I remember laying on the floor. My friend had sent me her she's a fitness coach and she'd sent me her postpartum challenge, whatever app challenge. And I laid on the floor and I could not even do a crunch. And fitness has been a big part of my life. Always been very fit and active. And so in that moment, I was just in tears, sobbing on the floor, sobbing. And I recorded a video saying, this is so baffling that your mind can have so much control over. You can do this. Like, I remember thinking, you can do this. This is the most simple thing. You've done this a billion times before. Just do it. And my body's going, yeah,
No
right.
way. Yeah.
No,
Yeah.
it is not happening. Right. And there was this just battle going on. And I'm like, who am I?
Mm,
Who am I? Who I am at the time, 39 years old. What have I done with my life? I mean, yes, of course, I love my kids. Yes, of course, I love my husband. And this is what I'm talking about earlier, good, better, best. You can have a good life. You can have a wonderful life, but you can also have a better life. You can also have a best life. And the difference in those things is intentionality in how you're living, in the decisions you are actually making, that you are taking charge of what's going on in your life rather than life just smacking you in the face and you're like, oh, trying to keep up with it, right?
yes.
And I have
Yeah.
an example of this. My beautiful mother, who I love, she's a wonderful, I have a podcast episode with her. Go listen to it. It's incredible. She's raised 8 kids who are all functioning, wonderful members of society. And she was in a reunion with her classmates, and they were in a circle saying, "What's your greatest achievement?" And she said, "I was so embarrassed. I'm a housewife." And I will never forget this story. And I thought, Mom, you've raised 8 children. Some people can't even raise one to be a successful, functioning human, like good person in the world, right?
Yeah.
Contributing member of society. You've raised 8. That's incredible. What an accomplishment. And I'm like her cheering section, just like, what? How do you not see this? And how old is she? Right? How do you not see this? These are
Yeah.
concepts that we should be able to continue on from our childhood. And I know that's where it starts, all this conditioning. And I was like, this has to be a new narrative for women. We have to rewrite this. We have to be okay with being selfish. We have to see that selfish does not mean neglecting others. Selfish can be the best thing for others in our life because we are giving from this full, abundant place rather than scraping whatever we can get from the bottom just to give, right?
Mm,
And I'm just like, who am I in this moment? All of these things are rushing through my head and I'm like, there's got to be more. There's got to be more. I want more. There's more to me. I have so much more I can give. And that's when my journey began, and I started tapping into these God-given gifts that are all inside each one of us, but they're buried. They're buried by limiting beliefs. They're buried by society conditioning us. They're buried by the yes, um um yes ma'am, I will do it, keep sweet, all of these things that
yeah. Oh,
we're burying these
mm,
God-given gifts because when we're 8, we're like exuberant in them. But as soon as someone says that's not good, we bury it,
mm,
right? We shut it down.
yeah.
And so women in my community, this will probably go right into your next question, but the women in my community, when I first started it, I thought like-mindedness was, oh, similar religions, similar political backgrounds, right? Similar things like that. Oh my gosh, was I wrong? Oh my gosh, was I wrong? I have a 78-year-old in here. I have a 20-year-old in here, and I have everything in between. I have women who are not married. I have women who do not have kids yet. I have women who have 5 kids who have been married for 25 years. I have empty nesters. And we're all completely different from different places. I have people in different countries. We're all completely different in all of these things. However, the like-mindedness that keeps us together is the desire to be better, for that intentionality in our lives. And we're supporting each other in this journey. It's like you're on the same journey as me, even though they're different. You want to be a CEO, I want to be a housewife, but
Mm,
we're both wanting to be our best selves. And I'm going to support you in that. I see you. I'm going to hold space for you. And
mm,
it's beautiful. And it has to happen in community. It has to, so that you have these other people as mirrors showing you what you are without all of these limiting beliefs that you've created for yourself, because they don't have that. They're looking at you as this beautiful person with all of these amazing gifts and talents that maybe you're not seeing, and they're reflecting that on you. You have to have that community in order for this kind of amazing growth, I think.
Oh, so anybody out there that thinks they're
Anybody.
alone, anybody that wants to go down that path of their best, there's good, what'd you say, better,
Good,
best,
better, best.
best,
Mhm.
and whatever they are, whatever they want to do in their life. Maybe it's a career, maybe it's just being a mother, maybe it's being single. Who
Yes.
knows what that is? It sounds like you have this community that is amazing mix of all walks of life. So no matter where you're at, where you want to start. Gina has this amazing community. And I looked into this community. I joined just to see it. We met just recently, and I'm really, really impressed with all the tools that she is providing. Not only really good tools for your life, but also this community. And
Yeah.
I think that is missing a lot of people's lives is that they need the other people and women do need women and people do need people in general
Yeah.
to help out. And sometimes we can't see something right in front of us that other people can see. So and do you want to add anything else to anybody else listening right now that could possibly join your community, and how can they join your community?
Yes, yes. One of my least favorite things that I think is such a common thing for women, especially, is to isolate.
Mm,
I think we feel like it's protecting us when we have a fight with our husband, or when we get fired from a job, or when something goes wrong and we feel ashamed. Anyway, we isolate. We
mm,
tend to go in ourselves. We shut down. We don't want to share with others. And I believe that is the opposite of what needs to happen. If you can imagine this visual aid of telling one person, sharing your burden with one person, sharing your story with one person, imagine that's 20 pounds lifting off of you. Imagine someone else saying, I will take that 20 pounds from you. And you're in your darkest moment. That one person is one little beam of light coming into this dark space. What if you could share it with multiple people? What if there were multiple people in a community saying, I will hold space for you. I will take this much for you. I will take this much for you. You become weightless. You
mm,
become able to be your truest self and share, because when we speak it out, it has no power over us anymore.
mm.
But we tend to lock it up, and it becomes this big scary thing, whatever it is. This I mean, we've heard it all. I've heard it all,
I'm
ladies.
sure you
You
have.
have the fights with the husband, you have um transgressions from your teenage years, you have whatever, right? There's no judgment. We're all human trying to live and live our best lives. But if you lock it up, it becomes this big scary thing.
Mm.
But when you let it out, it's just like has no power anymore. I
Love
think
that.
that's
I love
incredible.
that. To leave that, yeah, our conversation today that you don't have to be alone and that
Yeah.
you can be safe enough and courageous enough to share the things that are the scariest things for you to share, that you do have a community, there are people that care and that can empower you and lift you up. And that is Gina's community. And
Yeah.
so how can they get a hold of you?
It's
How can they join?
revitalized. Yeah, revitalized womanhood across the board, made it so easy. Instagram, Facebook, there's a private Facebook group, um, and my website and my podcast, YouTube, everything. Revitalized womanhood. And the sisterhood, my community is called the Revitalized Sisterhood. So if you go to my
Oh,
website,
wonderful. Perfect. And
yep,
we'll
if you
make
go
sure
to
that
my,
everyone has all of that too.
yes, the links. Perfect.
Okay, wonderful. And if there's just, I want you to leave the audience just with one pearl of wisdom, just one. If they were to leave today after listening to our podcast and go out there and do one thing, just one thing that will help them feel empowered, what would it be?
You have the ability to do anything, to create anything. You just have to make the choice to do it. You have to identify what it is you want and then go after it. You have the ability. That's it. It's
That's it.
so simple. I'm
Love
giving
it.
you permission. I'm giving you permission. And but first you have to identify what it is you want. And so many women can't even do that. So sit with that, figure it out, and then come see me and I'll help you get there.
Thank you, Gina. That's such definitely a word of wisdom. Everyone, you have the ability. Just know that. Just take the time to figure it out, and Gina can help you. Thank you so
Yes.
much, Gina, for being a light for all of us, showing us the way by your own story and living your best life, and with all the bumps and bruises. And you're such
Yeah.
a beautiful example for all of us. So thank you for helping women, helping us be our best self. And thank you for being my guest today.
Thank you, Terry. Thank you for your work that you're doing as well. Thank you so much.
You're welcome. All right. Take care.
Bye bye.
Bye bye.